Hey, how's it going? Today is 18th of June, Tuesday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities we can find. First one I would like to touch on, since we were taking a look at prototype development when it comes to UK and some of those agreements that you potentially gonna need to enter into agreement and do business with Europe. That side, since it was saying EU, I think that a lot of IP rights as of now is been held by some of France companies, right? What the way how the organizers have been organizing process in prototype development. There was a webinar that I was trying to build some interest in, but this webinar, since it didn't raise enough attention or interest in the company and all entire structure, if anything, it's been cancelled, right? So I don't know. So all entire sector is very important. The reason why I'm taking a look at this, right? And perhaps there is something with contractual agreements, right? The reason why they need to structure contracts in that particular way. If anything, I like to encourage UK in structuring this contract in a way where UK would have more independence from different partners, the way how it's been structured right now, right? Once that been said, we can touch on something what's happening in some of the mines, uranium mines, right? Since that would be still energy, but that would be potentially different sources of energy and how energy has been sourced right now. Quickly, I haven't read this article. I have read a little bit online about where, or I have find some information online, right? Where they currently France sourcing a lot of energy from nuclear energy, and I think from Nigeria they sourcing, and about 20% of nuclear is coming from this part of the world. So if anything, I'm looking to understand a little bit better. I haven't read this article. It's something that was published 2 days ago. So let's try to understand. Again, we're gonna be taking a look at some of the contractual agreements, right? And energy, the entire world should take a look at this sector, and perhaps if we can produce more energy, some of these contracts and how we structure those contracts. As of now, I think it's a mess, but that's a part of perhaps doing business. Either way. What are now at risk of losing Nigeria uranium mines sold by Russia? So let's try to understand what happened a little bit better. I think it's been written by American newspapers, so just have this in mind, right? So not necessarily it's accurate. So U.S. in this case, they have their own interest in mind, right? Orano SA could lose their right to mine uranium at one of the largest deposits in the world by June 19 after it's allowed to be tomorrow. Or potentially they're losing rights in mining after Nigeria rejected the French nuclear company's plan to develop the asset. But I don't think that's again, so it's very misleading again. So the price of uranium, right? So currently, I think based on some of the information that I managed to find on media, that will be about $2 for compared to what Canadians are paying. They're paying 300. So I think that's a difference. That's a massive difference. $2 or close to $2 compared to $300, right? If you would ask me, that's definitely a part of it. The move comes off. I don't want to bring politics into it, right? So if we can, let's stay away from that. If anything, there's the companies, right, and potentially sourcing a lot of resources from, and there's the different governments getting involved. Company controlled by there's different government there. This article has been written by a different government, and they all have their own agendas, right? Niger Paris, all presidents were overthrown in coup in July, last in the string of military. Okay. So this part is all political, right? Let's give that. Orano continues to operate a single large uranium mine in Niger, but its proposed plan to development of Emir deposit doesn't mean that authorities' expectations. Niger mine minister said and later sent by. Okay. I guess we covered everything, but overall, perhaps there's, if anything, If we cannot agree on the contract, right, perhaps there's invitation for other companies who would offer better terms. So let's see if there is a contact information, how we can engage with the partners, right? It seems that UK is struggling as well. So if a lot of IP rights been held currently by France or some of the companies within France, perhaps there's nuclear options on the table. Perhaps nuclear in a way where it will be sourced for energy production, right? Let's touch on that. Perhaps let's touch on a couple more points if there's accurate information in this article, but getting too political for my liking, right? So perhaps let's close on that and progress to other information, right? Quickly, right? How to potentially propose a contract in this case to Niger. So myself, I was taking a look at embassy within that area and how to engage with partners when it comes to making proposals. Perhaps way better proposals, right? But embassy is currently not very busy doing other things, right? So perhaps embassy potentially would be one way of engaging with the partners in the area and giving better proposal compared to currently. But currently, company taking all operations are gonna lose contract with the next day or so. So there's options on the table, right? Orano currently operates Sommer, an open pit mine in northern arid region after closure of Cominac in 2021. Mine activities of Sommer resumed in February after production stopped of several months following the coup. Immorian has been suspended since 2015, according to the company's website. Okay. So let's progress to other opportunities, right? Quickly, right, let's take a look at and close this video by taking a look at foreign components in Russian military drones. There are some research work completed, so I thought it might be worth taking a look at some of that work. There are people who delving deeper, but won't be able to cover everything in 10 minutes, right? As well as there are so many different articles, and all of those articles will be published in a way that would present information in such a misleading way. Since many components, about 82% of components in those drones, 82% of components are made by US, which is great, I guess. So let's take a look at this article, and sometimes it could be less, about 6 to 9, depending on the type of drone, right? But sometimes it could be more, depending on the drone type and all components, all these kind of things, right? And US slowly is taking actions, right? Just to put full perspective of things, right? But either way, let's take a look at what based on the history, right? What was happening? Those drones are there, and some of the people taking those drones apart, right? And let's take a look at some of the work and findings that we have, right? It could happen to anyone. Who knows? Some of those components who are made for the dual use, right? Where they can end up. Who knows? If you're a manufacturer who just sold it to some of the people and have taken apart some of the washing machines or something, and those components end up in military drones, right? That could happen, perhaps. Who knows, right? Let's take a look at this case study and let's see what are the findings. We perhaps can spend 2 minutes or so. There's so much information as well as some of those articles. This particular work is 30 pages, but I had reviewed some of those case study examples where they had 233 pages, right? So that would be different information for people who like to familiarize themselves, where they're delving deeper into a different type of equipment and where that equipment came from, and fingerprints, quote unquote, everywhere, right? That would be weapons of war in Ukraine, perhaps. So many people spend so much time doing all this research work, so I thought I would give it credit, right? So they have published 233 pages where they're delving deeper and trying to understand where that equipment came from, right? As well as where the government's selling that equipment, right? Once that's been said, let's come back to this article. Let's delve deeper and try to understand some of these articles and some of that information, right? We focused on harmonious systems, codes associated with components found in Russian UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. Using trade data, we analyzed trade patterns associated with the components. Our investigation revealed an increase in trade volume after a sharp downturn at the beginning of the full-scale invasion during the third quarter of 2022. These transactions amounted to $7.2 billion for a period of January to May 2023, which is 19% higher than corresponding period in 2022, which is $6.1 billion in 2022. So potentially people are spending more money, right, on this sort of equipment. The total amount was 15.8 billion. Which is it's hard to imagine how much equipment you can buy with that amount of money. There's a lot of governments that's I haven't read this article, by the way. I'm reading all this data for the first time, so I'm trying to be unbiased, right? I don't know all these details, and perhaps some of the people and all governments just selling the equipment. They do not ask too many questions, perhaps, right? Whatever case might be, right? Someone is buying, someone is selling, right? And where that equipment later would be used, who knows, right? Perhaps let's give some doubts in this. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. China stands out as crucial supplier of critical components for Russia, responsible for a significant share of deliveries. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, China has contributed 67% of components, which 70% around to Hong Kong, Turkey, and United States Arab Emirates also play notable roles, contributing 5% and 2% respectively. Despite changes, the European Union maintains 14% trade share with Russia, while the Eurasian Customs Union serves as major trade route. Many US and EU companies operate production facilities in China, further influencing components transfer. The top producers for the first 5 months of 2023 were Intel. I guess that's a private company, but okay. I'm not looking to bring more attention up. I was looking for percentage, right? I was looking on the search engine. That would be some of the US companies' search engines, right? So that's where I gave information to find this information, and that's information that was presented with, right? And those companies, I don't want the stock shares to be affected about any information that I'm sharing right now, right? That's not the reason why I'm sharing. If anything, that's perhaps some of the decision making could always be done better, as well as some of those companies are taking action as we speak to address some of those issues, right? Two more points I'd like to make after the sanction evasions. Electronic components from sanctioned coalition countries produced by Russian UAVs, predominantly anti-Russia throughout media countries unaffected by sanctions in response to escalating restrictions. Russia employs tactics to obscure its procurement efforts. These tactics involve illegal networks, discussing custom data, one-day shell companies, expanding intermediary entities, diversifying suppliers, and obstructing fake transit operations. These strategies exemplify Russia's adaptive response to sanctions, utilizing multi-faced channels and actors to evade sanctions framework, right? So this could be many factors. They trying to capture just a handful of factors, but could be even more than that, right? Policy recommendations to prevent provision of crude shell components to Russian military manufacturing. The following measures could be implemented. Should we touch on those? Perhaps there is a different article where they could already taken action, but we're talking about many months. Years perhaps. If it was 2022, now it's 2024, right? So perhaps this problem is as of time of making this video, they're looking to address it, right? Some of the articles that was published 4 days ago, I thought I'll touch on this particular article since it would give better understanding and perspective, but that would lead to way more problems down the line, right? Again, perhaps 30 seconds, and we're gonna close this video, right? That the U.S. expands Russian sanctions, target ships, and via China. I haven't read this article, by the way. United States Wednesday dramatically broadened sanctions on Russia, including by targeted China-based companies selling semiconductors to Moscow. As part of efforts to undercut Russian military machine, Beijing war on Ukraine. Many reasons, right? And that, based on some information that I managed to find, that will lead to setting up new companies and all people moving from one country to another because of some of those countries have been sanctioned, all these kind of things, right? But either way, so actions have been taken, right? But still, I don't know. Perhaps at least people are doing something. If you're asking, people are doing something. Let's close on that. Thanks for watching. See you next one.